All right, number 2, we're going to simplify this expression and also state any restrictions. We are given 25 minus q squared. All right, 25 is a perfect square. And then on the bottom, 4 times q squared minus 20q. All right, so again, we're going to factor this out. We can do difference of squares on the numerator. That'll give us 5 plus and minus q. On the denominator, we can factor out a 4q. And then that will leave us with a q minus 5. Okay. Now the q minus 5 looks similar to here except for the signs are backwards. So what I'm going to do is rewrite these and then put it so that the q is out front and then see what happens when we factor out a negative. So I'm going to wrap around. So I'm running out of room. And I'm going to write this as q plus 5 and then a negative q plus 5 over 4q and then q minus 5. Okay, so I can see the signs are backwards, so I'm going to factor out a negative 1 and then we'll get what we need. So if I factor a negative, both signs will change. So this will be a negative, and then this will become a positive q, and then a minus 5, change both sides, and here we'll get a q plus 5. And it's still over the 4q times the q minus 5. All right, what makes the bottom 0? If you plug in a 0, 4 times 0 will be 0, and then 0 times anything will be 0. So q cannot be 0, that's going to be a problem. And then also if we let q equals 5, 5 minus 5 will give us 0. So q cannot be 5. Now, as far as simplification goes, you have a q minus 5. We'll divide out the q minus 5, but again, it's still going to be a problem. So you got to make sure you at least know it was there, even if it divides out. Otherwise, you would only be looking at using 0 as part of a restriction. So the simplified, the q plus 5, then on the bottom 4q, everything else divides out. Okay, so last time they wanted me to divide it all the way out. Oh, I'm sorry, I left off my negative. Maybe that's why. Negative out front because of this negative that we factored out. Okay, and then restrictions are 0. It says use and if there's more than one. So we have 0 as a restriction and 5. All right, 3, similar, same thing. So number 3, I'm going to rewrite this as a negative, negative u squared plus 4, so we avoid the negative part, and then 9u squared minus 18u. So usually we have the variable out front, so I'm put the variable out front. Now we can't do difference of squares because it has to be a minus in the middle, so I'm going to factor out that negative now. So this will be a negative on the top, and then it will be a u squared minus 4. So that gives me my negative right there. and then this is over 9u squared minus 18u, and then now we will factor. So this will be equal to a negative out front. Difference of squares will give us u plus 2 and a u minus 2. On the bottom, factor out a 9u from both. And then that will leave us with u minus 2. Because divide by 9 gives you 2, and you took the u out. So here we go. Of course, these will divide out, but you still got to remember they were there, and what makes the denominator 0. I'm plugging in a 0 here. Again, I haven't showed it, but if I just set it equal to 0, divide by 9, 0 divided by 9 is still 0, so we get u cannot be equal to 0, and then over here, u minus 2 equals 0, you add 2, and you get u equals 2, or u cannot be equal to 2. Okay, so here will be our two restrictions for the denominator. Here's our simplified numerator. So u plus 2. I thought I got the parentheses in there. Do they not want it? So it will be a negative u minus 2 if they're not allowing me to do my parentheses. When you distribute the negative, both of them become negative. And this would be over 9u. And then on the bottom, restrictions, use and. We have 2 and 0.